Hey guys, it's Ken. Welcome to another Autism Digest interview, where today we have someone who I feel really honored to interview. I say that a lot, but this one I truly do. We met through Facebook. I was looking for guests for another friend's podcast, and I saw him, and I immediately knew he would be perfect. Then we were debating autism, and I found out he's on the spectrum and doing all these amazing things. Me and him have different opinions on the subject, but I wanted to bring him on here to show that just because we have different opinions doesn't mean we can't unite under a common cause. With that said, he is the son of rock legend Dee Snider of Twisted Sister, who a lot of people grew up with. He's a one-man band. He does music, including a song called Twisted, which is one of my favorites right now. You've probably heard his voice in Cheetos commercials, Pizza Hut, PlayStation, all these amazing things. He hosted Haunted Live, and his name is Jesse Blaze Snider. Thanks for coming on, Jesse.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Of course, I think a lot of people know who the Snider family is. You guys are rock royalty, practically. But for the select few that might not know, most likely the younger generation, what's your story in your own words?
Well, my father is Dee Snider, who's the singer from Twisted Sister. They do We're Not Gonna Take It and I Want to Rock. I grew up with him on the radio, and my dad's really multifaceted. He's a writer, very, very talented guy. And because of him, I didn't really know that I was autistic, because I had the most charming man in the entertainment business who I was copying all the time. I used to sit outside of his studio and I would listen to every single word he said, especially because I knew that sometimes my communication with people wasn't great. I would say things and people would get their feelings hurt or be upset with me. And I didn't understand why everybody was upset. So I started trying to model myself after my dad. And in a lot of ways, so many of the things that I do, from music and writing comics and writing in general, came from his love of comics, his love of humor. And humor was another thing that helped me mask my own autism, because there's a rhythm to humor, the way a joke lands or a punchline lands. And I studied humor from a very young age. And then I studied him on the radio. And then I became a writer, and I was just constantly studying dialogue and how to put things down. So, but in doing so, it's a lot of masking. It's a lot of energy. Like when I would go out into the world and deal with people, I would come home exhausted, because the amount of work that it took to match the humans and be like them and try to communicate with them the right way. I would come home. I had been putting on an act all day long, trying to behave like them. And to a certain degree, I still do that to this day, except like somewhere along the way, like my act and me kind of crossed into the same path. So now I would say that I am the person that I've always wanted to, kind of be. But it took a lot of work, a lot of effort on my part to cross that threshold. But because of, being ADHD and autistic and, very high functioning, I remember every melody, every lyric. Like I can remember things like crazy. I'm a comic book fan, and I can name every roster of the Avengers for ages, and the X-Men. And, I used to collect action figures, and I still do. And, and putting together different teams and different configurations and thinking about how this affects this person and this affects this person. Being an empathetic person in an unempathetic world is really difficult. But because of my father's entertainment background and him being somebody who was so in front of the camera all the time, I learned how to be that person too. And this really just helped me to mask, I think, better than most people are able to mask. But I really, when I talk to, fellow autistic people, I always tell them, just study great speakers, because we can overcome the limitations of our communication ability through listening to really great people speak and communicate. And another way that I did that from a really young age was with quote books. Love quote books. A quote is just like a great idea boiled down to just a few words. And oh man, a great quote can just, give you the world in the palm of your hands. And, and being somebody who can speak in really meaningful quotes too is an important thing. But of course, being really deep in a world that isn't very deep can sometimes bite you in the butt. and be a little bit of a frustration to the people who aren't ready to be quite so empathetic. They aren't ready to be quite so community minded and considerate. And of course, sometimes they think that we're inconsiderate because we're not so ego-minded as to be sort of like bothered by facts. Sometimes you give people like a factual like a piece of information and they're like, "Marr!" You're like, why are you mad about that? That's just like information. But people are interesting. I feel like we're basically different, like different species, autistic community and the regular human community. And that's why sometimes they don't get us. So I spent a lot of my life being misunderstood. And it hasn't really been until I have fully embraced myself, fully embraced my autistic nature, my super loving nature. I was always like holding back, like to not make people uncomfortable and stuff. But I love everybody. So I just tell everybody I love them now. I just go around saying Care Bear stare and, being as sweet and kind as I possibly can, even though I know some people are like, they don't know what to make of me being so loving and so caring and kind and saying, no, I genuinely care about you and we just met, but that's who I am. And that's who I prefer to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm the same way. I spent so long not knowing how to embrace who I was, trying to connect with people who I don't understand. And I don't still, humans are complex, neurodivergent or not, but I'm learning more about myself every day, honestly. My next question for you, and you touched on this a little bit. How do you think autism has helped you in your creative process, whether that be through music, through comic books, or through television hosting?
Oh, well, I mean, it's helped me so much. Like I said, my memory is my dad has always been like so baffled by the things that I can remember. And it was funny. That was one of the things I had found some really high functioning autistic guy who was making videos like a decade and a half ago to help people like me, going, if you've ever felt this, if you've ever felt that, like you might be on the spectrum. And I went, oh my God, this guy's right. He's nailing it. All of these things, I experience all of this stuff. And the memory thing is great. I have two cousins who are on the spectrum and friends who are on the spectrum. And, they will roll out every baseball stat of all time, or every wrestling stat. It tends to be where we put our focus. And for me, a place where I had put my focus very early was on comedy. And comedy, really good comedy, is about music. Everything is, it's musical. It's about, taking a rest before you hit that punchline. It's about the emphasis being placed in the right spot. And learning and memorizing comedy, whether it was Monty Python and or Mel Brooks films, or anything that was great, Blues Brothers, stuff like that. Anything that was sort of musical in its language, that really helped me to build the part of my brain that could memorize things and could memorize patterns, especially musical patterns. So every single time I listen to any music, I could sing a song if it's good. If you play me a good song, I could sing the song without the lyrics immediately afterwards. Like I will memorize it in a moment. I know the melody, I know how the notes go, and I could sing it back to you. So that's been really helpful, because basically, as I've gone through the world collecting hearing songs and reading stories or watching comedians, I'm studying. I'm just constantly downloading into my brain new patterns, that I'm recognizing, and I'm adding it to my understanding of how patterns can be laid out. So for that, literally, if I write something, I won't forget how it goes. 90% of the time, I won't forget how the melody goes. I won't forget the lyrics. I still remember poems that I wrote when I was a little kid. Now gather round and shed a tear for the ones who couldn't stay, or for the ones who lived in fear. Can you see the pattern there? It's hard for me, and I'm right here. The answer's clear, but you don't care, because greed blinds all, and you need not concern yourself with their welfare. Danger's hard for you to spot, depending on the circumstance. It's hard when you're just what you're not. You do the same old song and dance, so you can finish last in line, and hope your brown nose does enhance your standings in your master's mind. I wrote that when I was 16 or 17, and I said it on a podium at a poetry reading. I still remember it to this day. And there's tons of poems that I don't have any need to remember them, but I still remember them because I've got an autistic brain, and our brains just are sponges for information. And so at this level where I am now, I'm 42. You know, the songwriter that I have become is just insane. Like it's just, I'm so next level because I haven't been able to forget any of the good songs that I've learned along the way. And that is like just the greatest gift ever. And the other one that I'll say real quick too is just empathy. You know, especially I think, you know, people who like to play with toys, and I'm a big toy guy. You know, when you have a little action figure and you have a little action figure and this one punches this one in the face, and then you go, well, how does this one feel about that? He doesn't like that. And you're like, oh, I don't like that. You know, when you start thinking this guy feels differently than this guy, and you start imagining how things interact, this is a level of depth, unfortunately, that a lot of normal people don't have. And I really think it comes much easier to autistic people. And, you know, it can be very frustrating for us because when people come back and go like, oh, you've upset me or something, we're like, oh, I upset you. I didn't want to upset you. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to be friends. I want to be friends. And we're not friends because I said something bad. Oh, no. You know, so being put into that situation where you're being told you're too much, you're too loud, you're too deep, or you're thinking about it not the right way. It forces you to understand everybody, really try to at least, and to put yourself in a lot of different positions to at least imagine, even though often it's hard to see ourselves thinking the way they think, because I'm just like, I don't think like that. But okay, I accept this. And now I'm moving on, and I'm going to try to grow so that I don't have this experience next time, because the only experience that I want to have is I show up, I say, hey, how you doing? I love you. And you know that it's true. And then we go and we frolic in the woods and we have a nice time, and life is good. That's what I want, the world I want to live in. So I think really my, being autistic has just helped me to be deep in a wonderful way, and and be really meaningful when I speak, and impactful when I speak, because I've spent a long time thinking about everything very thoroughly, because it's really hard for me to turn my mind off.
Wow, that's amazing. And you said you wrote that poem at 16 and you're 42 now. Have had some impressive. That's very impressive.
I mean, literally, my only explanation is autism. I'm like, how do I remember that? Because I'm autistic.
Yeah, I'm the same. Hey, with a lot of top 40 songs, I can memorize who the artist was, who the songwriter, what year it was produced, what awards it won. So I'm the same way with my memory. My next question for you is: you hosted a lot of shows, did a lot of commercials, many for some of my personal favorite brands. Out of all the ones you did, have you had to choose which television endeavor was your favorite specifically?
Oh, well, that's easy. And I'm still doing it right now. I am the voice, the narrator for Food Paradise. If you go to my my YouTube channel, which is Blacklight District Studios, I actually, like, the featured video is my favorite episode of the show, where I come out from behind the camera and I am on camera hosting at my favorite deli on Long Island, Seaport Deli. We had gotten a really big episode order, and I asked my producers who produced the show if they were willing to do an episode. If we did a deli episode or a sandwich episode, could you please do it on Seaport on Long Island? And not only did they do it, but they flew me out there to be on camera because there's a sandwich named after me. So, for that, just the fact that I was able to use Food Paradise, I've done 201 episodes as the narrator. If you ever see it, next on Food Paradise, we're eating burgers the size of your head. It's just a fun show that I really believe is as good as it is because of the wonderful chemistry between me as the voice and my producers, and the way they would edit the show, because they built it around my voice and my ability to be charming. And, I'm a good joke teller because I know that song, the way it's supposed to land, and, like, if anybody wants a little cheat on, like, a good joke versus bad joke. Okay. If you have a joke and it's bad, the more obvious you tell the joke as, like, I know this joke is bad, the better it will land, because you're admitting that, like, this is silly, and that it's silly. I know that it's silly. But if it's not silly, if it's a really good joke, just deliver it. Pretend like you don't know anything about it. I wasn't telling a joke. And it's that dichotomy between how obvious that you're telling a joke is and how not obvious. You make it obvious when the joke isn't very good. When the joke is good, don't make it obvious. That's all. That's the trick to telling some good jokes. So if you watch Food Paradise and you sit there laughing, realize it's because I'm just I'm working with the flow and I'm working with the audience. I'm not trying to convince the audience that a bad joke is a good joke. I'm telling them, I know this is a bad joke, but here you go. And they'll laugh because I'm being honest with them. And if it's a good joke, they'll laugh because it's a good joke.
That sounds really good. And before we started recording, I was actually watching some of the sandwich episode to see way and fun fact, I thought initially you said Subway for some reason that it was a Subway or so, but as soon as you said Seaway, I was like, wow, I gotta check that out. My next question.
That was an honor just for me because that was, I got to give. I want to give to this world all the art that I make. It's because, I make songs because I think there are things that need to be said that I want people to have. And, on Food Paradise, to actually be able to use my position on Food Paradise to give some promotion to my friends at Seaport and the place that I've loved and I've gone to for my whole life, it meant everything to me. So that's really cool. And I'm hoping that a new season of Food Paradise is going to be coming out pretty soon. But because I've done 201 episodes of that show. And like you said, Pizza Hut, I was the voice for years. And Kia Motors and GameStop. GameStop's a cool one because I used to work for a GameStop when I was a kid. So that was a cool one to do too. But I mean, I am one of the most famous voices in my generation, period. People have heard my voice thousands of times and they didn't know it was me. But I've done so many mainstream commercials and so many promos for different TV shows and live announcing, and I've worked in every field of voiceover. So people, when you hear my voice and you go, oh, I like his voice, I kind of recognize it. Yeah, you probably do. Most people who watch television have, or listen to radio have.
That's amazing. I might have to go back through some commercials I watched when I was younger and see if I can recognize. And now, my next question for you is: you and I met through Facebook and at the height of some autism controversy, which I won't say out of respect. You did put me in my place for Colin and Vistula cream cheese bagel, which I changed out of respect. And then that's how I found out about your association with the autism community. Everyone's divided right now, which is honestly extremely heartbreaking, especially over very petty reasons. So my next question for you is, as an autistic individual and someone with such a profound background, how can we unite under this cause without judging people by standards and being mean about it?
Yeah, well, the being mean thing is like really the big thing. Like, it's funny because I've seen a lot of people go after RFK Jr. and they've literally been going after his voice and how he looks. And every time I see that, I just go, come on, guys. Can't this be a conversation about the factual information? And a lot of people don't want to really talk about this from a deeper level because the pharmaceutical industries, they don't want to have this conversation because they're making a lot of money off of everything the way that they're doing it. But I believe that I have been able to demonstrate autism as a effing superpower. And because of that, I think I'm the best person to make this argument and talk about this deeply because I was an agnostic skeptic my entire life. Bullcrap, BS by Penn and Teller. That was my favorite show. I had the Skeptics Dictionary. I was fighting against basically dogmatic religious belief because I saw what dogma and religion had done to society. And I was just like, can't we all unite under the same basic principles? But the problem with the scientific paradigm that we're living under right now is they have ignored completely ancient wisdom. And ancient wisdom, it is not wrong. And there's a lot for it to teach us. And the main things that it's there to teach us, and I'll kind of direct you guys through a scientific path that you can take to understand what I've come to understand. There's a really great book by something McTaggart. It's called The Field. The Field proves that literally what comes first, the chicken or the egg? The idea for both. When the sperm and the egg hit each other, there is a visible, not to our naked eye, but to various equipment, there are ways to see it, a field that forms. Our body grows into the field. The adult version of our body can be seen in the field, and our body slowly grows into it. Now, the reason why this invisible world where we have a field that comes before the chicken or the egg that we're growing into, the reason why that's so important to understand is because of the way that heavy metals interact with our bodies. We have not known and are not properly evaluating what a big deal it is. And I believe absolutely, because there's plenty of information that you can go out there and see, because there's a lot of people who've been fighting this for a very long time, that the autism, the lower functioning you are, people are trying to call autism like an identity. It's not. There's no spectrum for left-handed people. Okay. There's no spectrum for blue eyes. You either have blue eyes or you don't have blue eyes. The fact that there is a spectrum for autism means that it's affecting people in different degrees. Why would that be? Well, it's because something is causing the way it is being expressed. So what is that thing becomes the question. And if you look into esoteric understandings of energy and how important the invisible world is, what you'll see is that that field that we're growing into is highly affected and highly damaged by metal. And the metal basically creates roadblocks that our nervous system and our energy systems can't pass through. It's the thing that makes some of our communication, for those of us who are lower functioning, more difficult. And I want to live in a world where all of the shackles on the autistic are removed, because we are brilliant and we are innocent. And all of you guys should be like me. And you should be able to say all the things that you want to say super fast, lickety split. And it's literally pieces of metal that are getting in the way of the electrical system. In the early stages of our development, we have what's called the brain-blood barrier, which is a space in between our brains. It's open when you're a child. They had studied different kinds of mercury at a point in time, and they were like really happy because this mercury was apparently being released by the body. As it turned out, no, it wasn't. It was going straight into the brain-blood barrier. This is literally separating your left brain and your right brain from touching each other. People in different high states of spiritual consciousness or working meditationally with like psilocybin mushrooms, the mushrooms will connect those two sides of your brain. And you will get perspective on yourself that you never had before, because the left brain's governing one group of activity and the right brain's governing another. But as soon as they're connected, the perspective that you get is immense. And the more there is a barrier, literally a metal barrier that is preventing these thoughts, these neurotransmissions from going across the barrier, the worse it is for you. In this day and age, we have mercury in the air, in the water, in the fish that we eat. Literally in Japan, the whole food and drug the food board there, they studied mercury for a long time, and they all quit eating sushi, period. They stopped eating it because they saw how terrible mercury was for the human body. Or for whatever reason, these large fish, they can't get rid of the mercury, and neither can we. There's a couple different ways that we can, and I would recommend, if for a while, I did a big cleanse to help clean myself out with cilantro and parsley, and I mixed it into a shake that I would drink every day, and it helped me to kind of clear up my brain. I had a lot of damage to my brain from getting hit by a car and a couple different things that had happened to me, and through this regimen, I was able to think clearer, process better, and it helped me a lot. And I've seen it help other people too who are on the spectrum. So, there's something about what's in the cilantro and what's in the parsley. It connects to the aluminum and it connects to the mercury. And those are the two metals that really are messing us up the most. Aluminum is all over our environment because of these chemtrails. They were denying it for years and years and years that they were messing with the weather at all. They're messing with the weather. The HARP system was designed during World War II. And basically the technology puts particulates of metal into the sky that eventually fall, and they reflect lasers and, sort of invisible beams at it to vibrate it in different ways to affect the way the weather pattern goes. Eventually, when this aluminum hits the ground, we're breathing it in. We're so many different things. It's coming into our bodies. Aluminum combined with mercury, which is like, the runoff from burning various things, and in the foods that we're eating, This stuff is damaging us. Some mothers are passing a huge load of mercury and aluminum to their children in utero and in through the umbilical cord. So what's happening to some kids when they're born, they've been hit with a metal load, the likes of which, the world has never seen before. Because something like aluminum, it has to be mined. Aluminum isn't just found in the environment willy-nilly. So these things have never been present before. And I'm a father. I've got 4 kids. I've got 2 cousins who I love very much, and they're very low functioning autistic. So I was very interested in this subject, and I've studied it for 20 years. And there was basically 10 years that I went where I didn't fight with anybody. I didn't argue with anybody because I understood where they were coming from, and they didn't want to look at what I was looking at, and they didn't really want to have a reasoned argument with me and talk to me about the information that I'd come to understand there was a lot of truth to everything that was going on, and it deserved to be studied much more deeply and very specifically, but it wasn't being studied that way. And what I understood was, as I studied the medical industry in general, is they don't have any interest in that. They're making a lot of money off of us, off of the autistic community. They're making a lot of money off of vaccines. There's no desire to change the way we're approaching vaccines. But if the vaccine helps us in one way, but hurts us in 5 ways, that's a bad idea. We shouldn't keep going with something that's good on this level, but terrible on all of these levels. That's bad. What are we doing? That's stupid. We shouldn't be this stupid. If somebody's going, hey, this isn't working on this level and this level, perhaps we should think about it again. And you just go, no, shut up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Nobody comes out of the woodwork to say something that is generally not well regarded because they want to be famous off of being perceived as stupid from people who aren't willing to read the books that I have read. And that's really the big thing. Most people just go, oh, just trust the science, listen to the scientists, listen to the doctors. But they don't understand that the way this system works is the same people who own the hospitals own the schools. They own the textbook companies, and they hire the writers who write the instructions for all of the doctors to learn. The Rockefellers was it Rockefeller? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Rockefeller. They got rid of all of the natural homeopathic healing modalities ages ago and replaced it all with petroleum-based medicine because they owned the oil industry. They were making money off of that. And you can't trademark an herb. Anybody can go out and use an herb. So this system wants to control all of the cures, all of the medicine. They want to control the doctors. They want to control what the doctors are prescribing. I have friends who literally are hired by the medical industry to go out and lobby the doctors directly. They buy them lobster. They buy them nice drinks and everything that they want. And they go, so we'd really like you to use this medicine. When you have a system that isn't based on what the best medicine, what the best advice that your doctor could give you is, but what is best for the propagation of the system as it stands right now, yes, of course, people like RFK Jr. are going to be demonized by that system. But us as human beings and intellectuals, we can't just go around completely demonizing the people who are trying to bring us other information. At the very least, if we want to argue against it and fight against it, that's okay. But we got to do it in a way that is meaningful and a way that actually gets to the bottom of what the truth is and what the better answer would be. If the better answer would be maybe we should go about vaccinating people in a different way, then let's get there. But we're never going to get there if people are posting memes of RFK Jr. as the thing or posting something about how annoying his voice is instead of listening to him speak. He does a podcast where he speaks with cutting-edge scientists and doctors all the time. I challenge any of you to go listen to his podcast. Listen to all of the brilliant people that he has come on his show who are on the cutting edge of medicine and are trying to change the world for the better despite what the pharmaceutical industry wants. And those people, those are the voices that we need to listen to. Just the mere fact that he has a podcast like that, offering a platform to those sorts of people, just like you have a platform, offering a voice to people like us. That's a wonderful thing. That shows that you care about people like us. That shows that RK Jr. cares about people like us. I do 2 podcasts. I don't do it for me. I know everything that I'm saying. I don't have to say it out loud for myself to hear it. I'm not trying to be famous. I'm trying to help people understand things that maybe they don't understand. Whether it's on my show, Everything They Don't Want You to Know, which is me talking about esoteric wisdom and things that people often call conspiracies that are not conspiracies. Maybe the final conclusion that has been come to is a conspiracy theory. But the facts that these people have dug up are meaningful facts, and they show that we're not getting the whole truth from the establishment. And I want us to get the whole truth. And when I talk about entertainment on Coolest Geek Alive, which is my entertainment show, I'm not pulling apart these things so that I can make fun of them and hurt the director's feelings and hurt the writer's feelings, but because I want people to understand the way myth is formed, the way good writing really happens, what it takes to entertain an audience and make them glad that they watched your movie, glad that they spent some time, and everybody's time is precious, giving it to you. And, for me, it's a better world where we can just listen to each other and come together. And can I just say to you, Caden, thank you so much. I've had a couple really frustrating conversations with some people in the autistic community who have been weaponized by a lot of propaganda, and they're just not willing to talk. And they'll say things to me like, I'm an idiot or something. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, you sound like the humans. What happened that we're not willing to talk? But the establishment has taught us that we should just dismiss these things and that we're dangerous to talk about new ideas. It's not dangerous to talk about new ideas. In fact, it's important. And if somebody doesn't start doing it soon, this whole place is going to go up in smoke.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm happy to give you a platform. I really like the way you put that. Instead of slamming people down and trying to hurt their feelings, we should just be open and let them speak their mind same way they let us speak their mind. Although between you and me, I would definitely be swayed by lobster if I was in the doctor's shoes too.
I know it's not fair. It's not fair. You're giving them lobster, and now they're going to prescribe me that medicine, not because it's the best medicine, but because the guy who works for them gave them lobster. It's hard to argue with lobster.
Yeah, it is. My last question before we hop off is, what is your advice to anyone, neurodivergent or one, that wants to make it in all of these industries you work in, whether it be music, television presenting, or comics?
Do it yourself. It's never been easier to do it yourself. There's things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. There is the internet. There's so many ways to connect with people who might feel similarly than you feel. If you feel something really strong in your heart, if you feel like something is missing, if you're like, I love this, but go with that, trust that. If it's in you, it's in other people. One of those other pieces of esoteric wisdom that, the Buddha knew, and so many wise men throughout the ages, Jesus knew. We're all one. And if you feel it really strong in your heart, be brave. Don't be afraid to believe that you're not the only one. I'm sitting here and I'm saying these things, and hopefully you're saying, wow, I feel similarly. I'm not the only one. Hopefully people who are watching at home, and I know on some level you do this show because you wanted people to know they weren't the only one. I'm in the entertainment business because I felt really lonely growing up. Being autistic makes you feel like an alien in a world that you don't fit in. And I got into this. I got into music and stories because I wanted people to finish what I made and go, wow, I'm not the only one. And if I can do that at all for just a second, for anybody, just one person, and every time, and I know I've done it for more than just one person, and every time I do, that's the gift for me. That's my reward for all of my hard work. And it will be your reward too. It's the truth. I had to prove it to myself, but let somebody who proved it to themselves tell you you're not the only one. If you feel passion for something, go out there and do it. The system might not be ready to just open the door to have you do it because people like us have to prove its advocacy, but you can. It's never been easier to do. I'm on my third Kickstarter on, I'm on my third fundraiser on Kickstarter. I did 2 different comic books, and now we're doing a magazine, a quarterly magazine called Sugar and Bones. And with each one, we raised a little bit more money. The first one we raised like $6,000, and the second one we raised like $12,000. And now my friend he did one that was outside of my company, but he made almost $20,000, and we were helping him, to get people to go check out his book. And now this magazine that we're going to do, that's going to include him and include me and some of my other friends, I think this one's going to be through the roof. This is going to be the one that makes all the difference. But there's a buildup, and don't get discouraged. Just go out there, put in the time, put in the effort. 10,000 hours of something will really change your whole life. It will make you great and make you skilled. This industry, all the industries are very superficial in the way that they operate. And especially for people on the spectrum, that doesn't work for us. We're not superficial. And this world deserves, needs, and is craving right now less superficial versions of everything that exists in society. So if you feel like you've got a heartfelt, better version of it, do it. And if if you struggle to communicate or whatever else, get somebody who gets you. Bring them in as a partner. Let them be your mouthpiece. There are people who will partner with you if you've got the right ideas. I know that all of you guys are capable of executing it perfectly, and execute this stuff. Put your vision to life. Make a packet, make a presentation, and bring other people in to help you to get whatever pieces you need. Right now, I'm bringing in a whole huge team of people to come help me do all the things that I'm doing, because I work in so many different fields and I do so many different things, and I can't do it all by myself. And we can't do it all by myself. So don't be afraid to invite other people into your vision. Again, if you believe that it's important, somebody else will too. And I'm sure that the underlying intelligence of reality that exists on the other side in our field, that build the architecture that we're growing into every step of the day, I'm sure that intelligence will help you find your people, will help you find your community, and help you find the people that you need to sell to and connect all the dots that you need in this world to make it a better place. And I need you guys to do that, because I want this world to be a better place. I've got 4 kids, and I need the world to be a better place for them. So please stop hesitating, be brave, go do what's ever in your heart, because I want to see it.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to put it, and a perfect way to end this interview. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this interview. Thank you so much to Jesse for coming on for our longest interview yet. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Autism Digest YouTube. And just a reminder that our latest issue is out now. If you want to check that out, go to autismdigest.com. And all of these interviews will be on our Spotify now. We just posted our one with Tim Arnold today. So be sure to check that out by going to spotify.com and typing in Autism Digest, which is spelled right over here in the corner. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.